Thank you all. I think my voice is just a lot louder than Megan's, so we should be okay here. Are you clicking or am I clicking? I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have something in each hand. How am I gonna manage this? So I got up here and was like, oh, other hand. So thank you so much for having the meeting here at Spark. We're really excited about welcoming the Creative Mornings community to our community, and as a theme, we're going to carry it out through our presentation this morning. So our mission, we are a nonprofit. Our mission is to ignite the spark of creativity inherent in all children. Because we're all born creative, right? Everybody in here who was born creative? Come on, are we awake? Okay, let's try this. We're gonna have a quiz. We gotta wake you guys up. How many of you are wearing blue today? How many of us are single? I'm not, whatever is my hand. Sorry about that. How many of us have been to City Museum in St. Louis? All right. And how many of us are creative? Okay, that was a welcome picture. Do you know that in most audiences, when I say how many of you are creative, about 35% of adults will raise their hand. If I'm in the arts district, about 50% will raise their hand. So isn't it wonderful that this morning we can all raise our hands and agree that we are a creative community? So yay. Why is creativity important? And I bet this is so cool, like I'm a preacher speaking to the choir, but kids who know they are creative have higher self-esteem, they have better problem-solving skills, and they go further in their education. Do you know that if we were to take a poll of you guys, you would rank yourselves as happier than that group of adults that I speak to out somewhere else in the universe? So creative people define themselves as happier than others. But the really interesting thing is that research shows somewhere around the age of 16, we kind of decide, I am creative or I am not creative. And most people don't revisit that decision until they're in their 40s, when their career is cruising along, their family is grown up, and they finally begin to say, ooh, who am I? So we want to talk to kids and we want to get them very early when they're creative. So Megan asked me to speak a little bit today about my journey. I founded Spark in 2010. Started working to recruit a board of directors. One of our longest standing members is over there in a pink top, Monica. Spent about 3 years doing that, recruiting a board of directors, trying to figure out what we could do. Decided to build a prototype. In 2014, we got a wonderful grant and the contract on this space and built this. So believe it or not, this is a prototype of a much larger vision that we have for the city of Dallas. Much like St. Louis, we want about a 200,000 square foot center dedicated to creativity for the city of Dallas. So, boy, if you're going to applaud for anything this morning, that was it. I love it. But that's where we're headed. So we opened the doors here June 9th of 2015. In just over 3 years, we have engaged over 32,000 children in creative program. More than 60,000 visitors have passed through these doors, and we're looking to grow and expand in a rapid way. So, inspiration, my community. So you see these silly mugs over here, 3 nieces and a nephew. I was born and raised in St. Louis. My entire family still lives there. These kids, actually the youngest, the boy right there, Andrew, will be 20 in 3 days. I did get his birthday card in the mail, don't worry about that. But the kids are grown now, but they were our inspiration. And as they were growing up, my husband and I, when they would visit Dallas or we would visit St. Louis, we took them to museums and sculpture parks and zoos and magic houses and butterfly houses and everywhere. And why did we do that? You guys do that, right? It's all to see the excitement in their eyes. It's to help them find their passion in life, to find their way. And when we went to City Museum in St. Louis, all the connections were there. It was just incredible. Their eyes lit up. And until we get our facility in Dallas, City Museum is the most creative place on the face of the earth. So I encourage you to visit. But that was really the place where they connected, where they said, man, this is amazing. Who thought of that? How did they do that? How does this work? I want to try that. And you know, when they get to, I want to try that, that's when education can happen. That's when learning sets in. That's when the doors of opportunity open. And so I think our first visit to City Museum was in 2003. And I told you I founded the organization in 2010. Well, what happened in between was a whole lot of visits to City Museum, a whole lot of visits to other facilities. And back then, I was approaching the age of 50. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm in marketing. My background is in corporate marketing. And I, at the age of 36, launched my own consulting practice. I operated that for 17 years. But anybody in here in marketing knows that when you hit about 50, you are kind of old in that career. And so literally we were driving back from St. Louis. We'd been up there for Christmas with the family. And I was just kind of praying and talking to God and saying, oh man, you know, what am I doing here? What is, you know, here we go, what's my purpose? And the vision for Spark just fully formed. There it was. God just gave it to me and said, go do this. So a couple things, don't tell anybody, but I'm not really a kid-oriented person. I don't have children, conscious decision, never wanted them. Kids are cute, right? Especially if they belong to somebody else. And now, here I am, closing in on 50, and I'm told to create a facility for children. So, needless to say, it took several months to convince me that that vision was indeed my path. And a couple lunches with a few girlfriends, and one, she just said to me, if you don't do this when you're 70, you're just gonna be kicking yourself in the butt, because you're gonna look back and say, I can't believe I didn't do that. So here we go. Closed down my business, launched a nonprofit, figured out how to do all that paperwork. And these are pictures of City Museum in St. Louis. They're in here to kind of help you picture. Now somebody here, several, I heard talking earlier this morning about City Museum. It's in a 10-story building, so it's as tall as this one. It's not nearly as big. It's about 200,000 square feet that's dedicated to the museum, if you will. They have artist residence and studios in the facility, which is a dream we have as well. They have this huge outdoor, we call ours a climb, crawl, slide sculpture. They call theirs Monster City. So we have visions of having this huge facility open to the public 7 days a week, conducting field trips for kids, classes after school, having workshops for adults and college students, having the live-work art space for the artists. And we are probably 2 or 3 years away from launching a capital campaign, but we are actively working in the community to find that permanent home. So being part of the community is really important to us. I wanted to spend some time this morning talking to you about some of the community collaborators. So as you were visiting and walking around and looking, we have some internationally famous artists who have helped with the facility. And my parents were here from St. Louis one time and helped with the facility. So everybody has pitched in and everybody has done part of it. But as part of the Dallas creative community, I really wanted to share with you some of the contributions that have been made here. So Rolando Diaz was born in Cuba. I see a lot of heads shaking. We know Ro. Ro has an international following. He has 3 galleries across the country. He does amazing work. He was one of the first residents of this building when Jack Matthews and Matthews Southwest started rebuilding the neighborhood about 17 years ago. Ro did the mural on the front doors, and he came to me one day and he said, you know, Beverly, Spark is going to help children metamorphose into their full creative potential. And he had the drawing for what he calls Lady Butterfly, and you can see him painting the eyeball right there in the center. Ro also envisioned the upstairs area with the gorgeous mosaic on the floor. He drew that out. He drew out the butterflies on the columns. And those butterflies, you talk about community, There are over 13,000 butterflies on those columns. Each butterfly is made out of a recycled aluminum can. So somewhere in the neighborhood of 13,000 people who have passed through these doors have created a butterfly. So we like to say that you can leave your mark on Spark. Ro also painted this gorgeous lion head door knocker swing. Colin, give it a move there. Show us how that works. All right, Colin and I were partnered. Can you see that his shirt and my dress are the same colors? And we decided that community was really about people. I said, I think it's people who share a common interest. But Ro helped design that swing. And we use that as an example for the children because what we teach here is the creative process. And the creative process, as you guys all know, is a way of thinking. We define it as inspiration with iteration and collaboration leads to innovation. I got a lot of head nods on that one. But it's really easy for the kids to remember our Ations of creativity. So inspiration, iteration, collaboration, and innovation. And what I really love is when I'm talking to that room full of people who don't raise their hands when I ask if they're creative, they think that that's a linear process with 4 neat little checkpoints. And I'm like, no, man, it's a messy, circuitous process. Creativity takes some time, it takes some iteration. We go back and forth and around and around. So that's Ro. Ro did design, this is his drawing of the mosaic on the floor upstairs, but then we turned to Raymond Gager, and Raymond is a master mosaic artist here in the Dallas area, and Raymond spent 5 weeks, 6 days a week on his knees installing that mosaic. And any of you who have ever done mosaic know, you don't start with those nice tiny little pieces of tile. You start with 4x4s or 6x6s and you cut them down into all those itty bitty pieces and then you build up your mosaic. So this is Raymond. Fred Pena is the architect. Sometimes people come in here and they say, wow, Bev, is this what the inside of your brain looks like? And I admit it is, yes. But I found a kindred spirit in Fred Pena. So Fred Pena is the architect who drew this entire climb, crawl, slide sculpture and brought all the pieces together that we had envisioned. Because God knows my drawing might have stranded a child somewhere in a dead end, but he managed to get them all the way through and back out. So Fred came up with the drawings. A very, very, very large team of people, from architects to structural engineers to the Spark Creative Committee. I want to talk to you about the Spark Creative Committee. Hey guys, we have a creative committee. It's open to the public. Hopefully you saw Suzanne at the table upstairs, the one with the great big Spark tablecloth on it. We have sign-up sheets if you want to help. We're always looking for new things and new opportunities and new ways to engage the community. And Chris is going to come in, and he saw this column this morning. He said, I think we need to break up mirror and put mosaic of mirror on this column and have lights, and then it'll reflect the kids. So, hey, Chris, we're looking forward to that installation. But come up with ideas. We love that. How many of you made it all the way back to the space tunnel? All right, we're going to get to that slide. That was a 16-year-old girl who earned her Girl Scout Gold Award badge and envisioned that tunnel. But you can see quite a few things, quite a few people help with the installation of this room. The other is the Spark Teen Board. Anybody have a 14-year-old boy? Nobody. You've all lived through that stage or haven't gotten there yet. For some reason, 14-year-old boys are the most difficult to please creatures on the face of the earth. I don't know why it is, I never had one. But when we were envisioning this space, we put together our first teen board of directors, and we stocked it with 14-year-old boys. And when we had a drawing or an idea, we took it in front of those boys. And if they said no, it did not get built. If they said yes, and it went. And if you can please a 14-year-old boy, you can please all the other kids. It's pretty simple. But our team board is still active, and they work on installations and learn a little bit about governance and community volunteerism by participating in the team board. Often I refer to this crew as our metal workers. Pascal Pryor, Byron Zarabi, and James Bauer. Byron Zarabi created the welding studio at Bill J. Priest Institute. James works there with him. Pascal, Byron, and James have done all the decorative metal work that you see in Spark. They came up with the shipwreck, the mermaid, and the lighthouse. Did you know the story? The captain of the ship was mesmerized by the vixen mermaid, missed the warning of the lighthouse, ran aground next to the waterfall. That's how all that came to be upstairs. It was installed in reverse order, but it makes a great story. They worked with Rowe after his drawing of the lion head swing and brought it to life. And if anybody has been all the way up on the top of the platform, you've seen the Chinese dragon slide. They did the Chinese dragon slide. What was crazy about that slide was when it was installed, it was pure metal. It was silver. And for some reason we called it he. I don't know why, but it was a he. Well, the next thing you know, it got painted. Then it built a nest. Then it laid eggs. Well, okay, apparently it's a she. But you do have to keep your eyes open because there is a baby dragon. One of those eggs has hatched. And this baby dragon can be found inside Spark. It's always in a different place, so keep your eyes open for that. Jesse Larson. Jesse Larson did the installations on the far wall of the room upstairs. They are comprised of canvas, wood, and record albums and CDs. So it's a multimedia installation that kind of represents the far reaches of outer space. Oh, and they have lights in them as well. So Jesse did that, and then he did a painting on the ceiling as you first come down the stairs. Lynn Raines. Lynn Raines is an artist. Lynn Raines volunteered here. Lynn moved into the building in January of 2014, just as we were starting building. And do you know, when we got these spaces, there was no electricity, no fire and life safety, no air conditioning, no plumbing, nothing. It was, like I said, it was 3D. It was dark, dreary, and dank. And it was full of everything that had broken in this building for 50 years had been discarded. I heard you say you live in the building and you're shaking your head. And were you in here before we got it?
I'm a photographer. I would come and shoot in here.
I have heard of so many photo shoots in here.
Place.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was nothing in here.
So he added another D. He said it was derelict, so now it's 4D. Thank you for that. But yeah, so lots of photo shoots were happening in here. But Lynn poked her head through the door one day. She became a volunteer. At the time, she was teaching art at University Park Elementary. We somehow managed to convince her to come to Spark, and she led all of our instructional programming for the first 2 years. She told us that she loves working with kids, but she loves working with the same kids all the time. And we have so many kids who come and go that Lynn went back to teaching. So she starts at Mesquite next week. So if anybody has a high schooler at Mesquite, you have the best sculpting instructor going with Lynn. But Lynn did the car wash installation upstairs. And I wish you could see, these boys are probably about 10, and that's Lynn. Lynn is, where's Meg and Tom? She's the size of Meg and Tom. She's tiny, and she went to a junkyard and she cut the front half off of a Jaguar, and she carried it up those spiral staircases and welded it to the basket weaving wall. But if you haven't been up there, she made the motor that is now in the car, and it is worth going up and looking at. It's a very cool installation. I mentioned Mallory Rasco earlier. So we really are about engaging the community in the creation of Spark. You've seen we started with an internationally acclaimed artist, and we're kind of wrapping up with a 16-year-old girl in high school. Mallory came in and walked Spark, kind of like Chris did this morning. She was just looking around and she found the space and it spoke to her. And she said, I would really love to do an installation in that tunnel. And she worked with our creative committee, and she did mock-ups, and then she did maquettes of this installation. We helped her with her timeline and her budget. She recruited her volunteers, and she spent her summer doing that installation. And now all these little kids plop down in the pilot seats and go to infinity and beyond in Mallory's tunnel. This is how we engage the community when we were talking about you can leave your mark on Spark. So you see the butterflies on the columns. Did anybody notice our Chihuly-inspired chandeliers upstairs? Those are made of plastic water bottles. So again, thousands of people have helped make these Chihuly installations. And then the vertical village was Where is somebody from Fleischman Hilliard I was talking to earlier? Fleischman Hilliard was here for a team building exercise, and they started the vertical village. So everybody gets a box, and you turn your box into a building that you would want in your village. And I'm proud to say that I think there are 5 sparks in the village right now. One little girl carried me all the way back downstairs and said, I want you to see my spark. I even put a giant slide in it. But the vertical village has been a fun project that has evolved over a couple of years. So that's kind of what we're all about. But we really want you guys to engage with Spark. So again, there are sign-up sheets if you're interested up there that we'd love to have you help with an installation or get engaged, bring a birthday party, bring your kids, that sort of thing. We have had a lot of children come through. These are our results from last year. So in 2017, that was our 2nd year of operation, and we said, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could get 6,000 kids to come through Spark this year? Well, we did 13,560. The kids came from field trips, summer camps, birthday parties. We drew from 29 school districts across 39 cities. Teachers love Spark. We help kids overcome their fears, learn to solve problems, try new things, use their imagination, and gain confidence. These kids are really neat stories. Is Dan in here? No? Camilla came to camp in the summer of 2016. She attended a few weeks. She was 13 years old, so we put a little name tag on her and called her a junior camp counselor, and she got to do some special projects. She really got into clay. And but she went to 8th grade, and her mom said, Camilla, you really need to apply to go to Booker T. And she's like, oh, you know, Mom, kids from my school really don't make it into Booker T. But she pulled out her work from her Spark summer camp experiences, added to some other things, got accepted to Booker T. And I guess Monday, she starts her sophomore year at Booker T. Dan came to us, I don't know if you guys know about the mayor's internship program, but the businesses around town help sponsor these high school kids into internships. Dan was our intern last summer. He became he became an employee part-time on weekends when we're open to the public. This summer he served as our marketing intern, and he leaves, I guess today is his last day on the job. He's going to the McCombs Business School. This from a kid, when he started here, said he was afraid to go into the workforce because he felt you had to know everything when you went into the workforce, and if you didn't, you'd get fired. And he learned all about collaboration here, and now has the confidence to go on to business school. So we're going to talk about your impact now. We have a lot of different projects going on. On September 13, I don't know if anybody has a notebook, but write this down. We are hosting a Create-a-thon on September 13. Over lunch, you can come, and it is adult recess, it's play, it's a box lunch, and there are some projects like our Surratt-inspired painting. You can see we're making this out of bottle caps. So there's an installation that we're going to talk to you about, Suzanne, if you stop by the table. But we're trying to build a plane wreck up here, and we have a debris field. We have all these wonderful suitcases that are packed. And when you open the suitcase, you can identify who was on the plane. And so our debris field needs to be installed. So we're looking for people who might want to help with that. Of course, the golden treasure belongs to the debris field as well. But your collaboration will help develop our future, right? It'll help bring kids around and help make Spark all that more exciting. So I just want to say thank you for coming in tonight. Thanks to the Megans for hosting the meeting here at Spark. We're thrilled to have you all in. Several members of the staff are around. They're all wearing these little name tags and waving at you. If you have any questions, we're happy to talk with you. We hope you'll stay and enjoy yourself for a little while longer.